Right now, as you're reading this, you're doing something that's completely sabotaging your ability to manifest what you want. And the worst part? Every guru, every course, and every visualization technique you've learned has been teaching you to do it wrong. Here's what's happening. Every time you close your eyes and try to visualize your desired outcome, you're actually pushing it further away from you at the quantum level. You're not manifesting, you're quantum blocking. And this isn't some mystical concept. This is based on how consciousness actually interacts with quantum fields. The problem is so hidden that 99% of people who practice visualization never realize. They're working backwards against the very forces that could transform their reality instantly. What if I told you that the moment you start visualizing what you want, you're collapsing the quantum field in the wrong direction? What if traditional visualization is like trying to catch a butterfly by chasing it with a net, when the real secret is becoming so still that it lands on you naturally? This isn't about positive thinking or believing harder. This is about understanding that consciousness and quantum mechanics follow specific rules, and most visualization methods violate every single one of them. The quantum field doesn't respond to force. It doesn't care how clearly you can picture your goal or how intensely you feel about it. In fact, the harder you try to visualize, the more you're telling the quantum field that what you want doesn't exist in your current reality. You're literally broadcasting lack instead of abundance. Here's what's really happening at the quantum level. There's a selection process constantly occurring around you. Every microsecond, reality is choosing which possibilities become actual experiences. But this selection isn't random. It's not based on luck or cosmic timing. The quantum field is always listening to one specific signal from your consciousness. But it's not the signal you think it is. Most people believe the quantum field responds to their desires, their visualizations, or their emotional intensity. Wrong. The quantum field responds to your state of being. And when you're in visualization mode, trying to create or attract something, you're in a state of not having. You're in a state of separation from what you want. This creates what I call quantum resistance, a field distortion that actually repels the very outcomes you're trying to manifest. Traditional visualization assumes that you create your future by imagining it first. But quantum mechanics reveals something shocking. The future is actually selecting the present moment. Reality moves backwards through time at the quantum level, and your consciousness is the bridge that allows this reverse flow to occur. When you visualize forward into an imagined future, you're blocking this natural backwards flow. You're forcing your consciousness to move in the wrong direction through the quantum field. It's like swimming upstream against a current that could carry you effortlessly to where you want to go. This backwards flow is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly, while others struggle for years with the same techniques. The effortless manifestors have accidentally learned to align with this reverse quantum current. They've stopped trying to create and started allowing themselves to be selected by their desired reality. Throughout this video, you're going to uncover the hidden quantum mechanisms that govern manifestation. You'll learn why your brain creates quantum interference every time you visualize, and how this interference is blocking your desired outcomes from materializing. We'll explore the observer effect that you're unknowingly triggering, and how this effect can work for you instead of against you. You'll discover that there's a selection process happening at the quantum level that most people activate in reverse, causing them to select the very realities they don't want. You'll understand why your subconscious mind is running quantum sabotage programs 24/7, and how to reprogram these deep-level patterns that control which possibilities become your actual experience. We'll dive into quantum entanglement and how your thoughts aren't just in your head, they're connected to probability fields across multiple dimensions of reality. You'll learn to work with these entangled connections instead of accidentally severing them through traditional visualization. Most importantly, you'll discover the probability storm that surrounds you every moment, thousands of potential outcomes swirling around your consciousness, waiting to be selected. Traditional visualization makes you blind to this storm, focusing on just one possibility while missing the infinite field of options available to you. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to flip the entire script. Instead of trying to choose your reality, you'll learn how to become quantum transparent, allowing your desired reality to select you. This isn't about letting go or surrendering in the way most spiritual teachings suggest. This is about understanding the precise quantum mechanics of consciousness and reality creation. You'll learn the exact process for becoming the kind of being that your desired reality naturally gravitates toward. You'll discover why. Trying to manifest specific outcomes keeps you trapped in the old paradigm, while learning to work with quantum selection opens up possibilities you never even knew existed. Every visualization session you've done has been training your consciousness to operate in separation mode. Each time you picture what you want, you're reinforcing the neural and quantum patterns that maintain the gap between you and your desires. This separation mode creates what scientists call quantum decoherence, a state where your consciousness becomes disconnected from the unified field that contains all possibilities. The more you visualize, the more decoherent you become, and the harder it is for reality to shift in your favor. But this isn't permanent damage. Your consciousness is incredibly resilient, and the quantum field is always ready to sync back up with you the moment you stop interfering with its natural selection process. What you're about to learn represents a complete paradigm shift in how consciousness interacts with reality. This isn't an upgrade to traditional visualization. It's a completely different technology of manifestation based on quantum field dynamics rather than mental effort. You'll learn that reality isn't something you create through force or intention. Reality is something you allow through alignment with quantum selection processes that are already choosing the highest probability outcomes for your consciousness. The quantum field is infinitely intelligent, and it's constantly calculating the fastest path to your highest potential. But it can only deliver these outcomes when you stop interfering with its selection algorithms through backwards visualization techniques. Are you ready to discover how reality really works at the quantum level? Are you prepared to let go of everything you think you know about manifestation and learn the true science of consciousness-reality interaction? The quantum selection process has been waiting for you to understand it. Your desired reality has been trying to select you, but your visualization habits have been making you invisible to its selection algorithms. It's time to flip the script and learn how to be selected instead of trying to select. The quantum field is about to show you how effortless manifestation really is when you work with its natural laws instead of against them. Your brain is creating quantum interference patterns every single second, and these patterns are destroying your ability to manifest before you even realize what's happening. Right now, as you process these words, your neural networks are generating electromagnetic fields that are directly interfering with the quantum possibilities trying to materialize around you. This isn't some abstract concept. Your thoughts create measurable electromagnetic frequencies, and these frequencies either harmonize with quantum fields or create destructive interference that cancels out the very possibilities you want to experience. Most people's brains are stuck in interference mode, which is why manifestation feels so difficult and unreliable. The quantum field operates like a vast ocean of pure potential, with waves of possibility flowing in every direction. Your consciousness is designed to surf these waves, not fight against them. But your brain's default processing patterns create chaotic interference waves that make it impossible to ride the quantum currents that could carry you to your desired outcomes. Think of it like trying to listen to a radio station while someone nearby is operating machinery that creates electromagnetic interference. The signal you want is there, broadcasting clearly, but the interference makes it impossible to tune in. Your brain is both the radio and the interference machine. And most people don't know how to turn off the interference without losing consciousness entirely. Every time you think about what you want, your brain automatically compares it to what you currently have. This comparison process generates what quantum physicists call phase opposition, two waves that cancel each other out instead of amplifying each other. Your desire wave crashes into your current reality wave, and both disappear into quantum foam. This is why trying harder to manifest usually makes things worse. The more intensely you focus on what you want, the stronger your brain's interference patterns become. You're not just thinking about your desire, you're simultaneously generating an equal and opposite wave pattern that represents everything your desire is not. These opposing waves neutralize each other at the quantum level. Your brain evolved to keep you safe by constantly monitoring for threats and inconsistencies. This survival mechanism served you well when avoiding predators, but it's completely counterproductive when working with quantum fields. Every time the quantum field tries to deliver a possibility that doesn't match your current experience, your brain's safety systems activate and generate interference patterns to maintain the status quo. The interference doesn't just block new possibilities from entering your reality. It actually sends these possibilities into what scientists call quantum decoherence, where they lose their coherent wave properties and dissolve back into random probability clouds. Your desired outcomes aren't just blocked, they're being actively dissolved by your brain's electromagnetic interference. This interference operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Your conscious thoughts create one layer of interference. Your subconscious beliefs create another layer, and your autonomic nervous system creates a third layer based on your body's cellular memories and survival programming. These three interference patterns interact with each other to create incredibly complex wave cancellation effects that make manifestation nearly impossible. Through traditional methods, most visualization techniques actually increase this interference because they require you to mentally construct images of what you want while simultaneously being aware that you don't currently have it. This dual awareness creates what I call quantum static, a constant background interference that drowns out the subtle quantum signals that could guide you toward your desired outcomes. Your brain's language processing centers add another layer of interference every time you think in words about what you want. Language is inherently dualistic. It creates separation between the observer and the observed, between what is and what could be. When you think, I want this, or I need that, you're using linguistic structures that reinforce separation and generate interference. Patterns in the quantum field. The visual cortex creates its own unique interference patterns when you try to visualize outcomes. Your brain cannot distinguish between imagined images and remembered images at the neural level, but it can detect the electromagnetic signature difference between imagination and direct perception. When you visualize, you're creating artificial electromagnetic patterns that conflict with the natural patterns the quantum field uses to communicate possibilities to your consciousness. Even your emotional responses to your desires create interference. When you feel excited about a possibility, your brain's reward systems activate and flood your neural networks with chemicals that alter your electromagnetic signature. While this feels positive, it actually creates interference because the quantum field responds to coherent wave patterns, not chemical cascades. Your excitement scrambles the very signals you're trying to receive. The strangest part about quantum interference is that it's not random. It follows precise mathematical laws that your brain unconsciously implements. Your neural networks are essentially quantum computers that have been programmed with interference algorithms instead of manifestation algorithms. Every thought process reinforces these interference patterns, making them stronger and more automatic over time. This is why meditation often helps with manifestation, but not for the reasons most people think. Meditation doesn't work because it makes your thoughts more positive or your focus stronger. Meditation works because it temporarily reduces your brain's interference patterns, creating brief windows where quantum possibilities can reach your consciousness without being cancelled out. But here's what most meditation teachings don't tell you. The moment you come out of meditation and return to normal thinking, the interference patterns immediately reactivate. You haven't actually reprogrammed your brain's quantum processing, you've only temporarily paused it. This is why the benefits of meditation often fade so quickly, and why consistent daily practice is required to maintain any manifestation momentum. The interference problem goes deeper than just individual thoughts or emotions. Your brain's entire operating system is based on pattern recognition, which requires constant comparison between new information and stored memories. This comparison process generates interference by definition, because you cannot recognize patterns without creating electromagnetic opposition between what you're experiencing now and what you've experienced before. Your memory storage systems create permanent interference because every stored experience becomes a template that generates opposing waves to any experience that doesn't match it exactly. The more memories you have of lacking what you want, the stronger the interference patterns become when quantum possibilities try to deliver what you desire. But there's a solution hidden in the physics of how this interference actually works. Interference patterns can be neutralized through a process called phase conjugation, where you create an exact mirror image of the interference wave that cancels it out completely. Your consciousness has the ability to generate these phase conjugate waves, but you need to understand the precise mechanics of how your brain creates interference before you can learn to neutralize it. The key insight is that interference only occurs when two waves meet at specific angles and frequencies. By shifting the phase relationship between your consciousness and the quantum field, you can transform destructive interference into constructive interference, where waves amplify each other instead of cancelling out. This is the foundation of what we'll explore in the next chapter about the observer effect you're unknowingly creating. Every time you focus your attention on what you want to manifest, you're triggering an observer effect that instantly collapses the very quantum superposition you need to maintain for manifestation to occur. This isn't a metaphor or spiritual concept. This is documented quantum physics that's happening in your consciousness. Every moment you're awake, the observer effect in quantum mechanics shows that the act of observation changes the behavior of quantum particles. When particles exist in superposition, existing in multiple states simultaneously, they hold infinite potential. But the moment they're observed, they collapse into a single definite state. Your consciousness is constantly observing your reality, and every observation is collapsing possibilities before they can fully materialize. Here's what's happening that you've never been told. When you visualize your desired outcome, you're not just imagining it, you're observing it. And quantum observation doesn't require physical eyes or scientific instruments. Consciousness itself is the observer, and mental attention is a form of quantum observation that follows the same collapse rules as laboratory experiments. The moment you focus on what you want, you're forcing the quantum field to collapse from its natural superposition state into the limited reality you can currently perceive. Instead of allowing infinite possibilities to exist simultaneously until the perfect one naturally emerges, you're prematurely collapsing the field into whatever your current consciousness can observe and understand. This premature collapse is why manifestation through visualization feels like pushing against an invisible wall. You're not working with quantum mechanics, you're working against them. Every time you observe your desire through visualization, you're collapsing it into the version that matches your current level of consciousness, which is always limited by what you already know and believe is possible. The quantum field maintains superposition through what's called quantum coherence, a state where all possibilities exist in perfect mathematical harmony without collapsing into any single outcome. This coherence is incredibly delicate and can be destroyed by even the slightest conscious observation. Your desire to see your manifestation clearly is literally the force that prevents it from manifesting. Most people think they need to observe their goals clearly to make them real. But this creates what quantum physicists call measurement-induced collapse. The clearer your visualization, the more completely you collapse the quantum superposition, and the more limited your manifestation becomes. You're trading infinite possibility for a single, predetermined outcome that matches your current perceptual limitations. This observer-induced collapse happens instantaneously across all dimensions of possibility. When you visualize having money, you don't just collapse the financial possibilities, you collapse all the infinite ways that abundance could flow into your life. You force the universe to deliver abundance only in the specific way you can currently imagine, blocking all the ways you can't imagine. The strangest part is that the quantum field actually responds better to non-observation than to focused observation. When you're not actively trying to observe or control an outcome, the field maintains its superposition state and can deliver possibilities that exceed anything your current consciousness could have imagined or visualized. This is why breakthrough manifestations often happen when people stop trying, stop visualizing, and stop focusing on their desires. It's not because they've let go in some spiritual sense. It's because they've stopped creating observer-induced collapse and allowed the quantum field to maintain coherence until the optimal possibility naturally emerges. Your consciousness creates observation, effects through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. Your attention creates one type of observer effect, your expectations create another, and your emotional investment creates a third. These combined observer effects create what I call quantum determinism, where your consciousness becomes so focused on specific outcomes that you eliminate all other possibilities from the field. The visualization techniques you've learned actually train your consciousness to be a more effective observer, which makes you more efficient at collapsing quantum superposition. Every visualization session increases your observational skills, making you better at destroying the very quantum states that could deliver miraculous manifestations. Even your casual thoughts about your desires create mini observer effects throughout the day. Every time you wonder when your manifestation will arrive, check to see if it's happening yet, or think about whether it's working. You're creating micro-collapses that chip away at the quantum coherence surrounding your desired outcome. The observer effect becomes exponentially stronger when multiple aspects of your consciousness observe the same possibility simultaneously. When your logical mind, emotional body, and intuitive awareness all focus on the same desire, they create what's called multidimensional collapse, where the quantum field has no choice but to manifest something immediately, but only at the level of complexity your combined consciousness can currently observe. This is why people often manifest partial versions of their desires or manifestations that come with unexpected complications. Their consciousness created enough observer pressure to force a collapse, but the collapse had to occur within the limitations of what they could currently perceive and accept as possible. Your subconscious mind creates observer effects, even when your conscious mind isn't focused on your desires. Every buried belief, every unconscious expectation, and every cellular memory acts as a quantum observer that continuously collapses possibilities according to your deeper programming. You're not just observing with your conscious mind. Your entire being is observing and collapsing the quantum field 24 hours a day. The solution isn't to stop observing entirely, which is impossible for a conscious being. The solution is to learn how to observe without collapsing, to maintain what's called non-invasive observation, where your consciousness witnesses quantum possibilities without forcing them to collapse into definite states. This requires a fundamental shift in how you use your attention. Instead of focusing on specific outcomes, You learn to observe the quantum field itself, the space of pure potential where all possibilities exist simultaneously. This type of observation actually strengthens quantum coherence instead of destroying it. Non-invasive observation means learning to hold your attention in a way that enhances superposition rather than collapsing it. Your consciousness learns to witness infinite possibility without trying to select or control which possibilities become real. This allows the quantum field's own intelligence to select the optimal outcomes without interference from your limited observational perspective. The quantum field has access to information and possibilities that your current consciousness cannot perceive or imagine. When you learn to observe without collapsing, you allow this quantum intelligence to factor in variables and outcomes that are completely outside your current awareness. This is how manifestations can exceed your wildest expectations. Instead of being limited by them, but learning non-invasive observation requires understanding exactly how your consciousness creates observer effects in the first place. You need to recognize the subtle ways your attention collapses possibilities, so you can redirect that same attention in ways that enhance quantum coherence. This becomes possible once you understand the selection process that's hidden in plain sight, which we'll uncover in the next chapter. There's a selection mechanism operating in every moment of your existence that's more powerful than your conscious will, more precise than your intentions, and more intelligent than your strategic planning. This quantum selection process is constantly choosing which possibilities become your actual experience. But it's not choosing based on what you think it should choose based on. Right now, as you read these words, billions of quantum selection events are occurring around your consciousness. Each selection is determining whether abundance flows toward you or away from you, whether opportunities open or close, whether synchronicities align or scatter. And here's the shocking part. You're triggering these selections completely backwards from how they're designed to work. The quantum field doesn't select based on your desires, your visualizations, or even your beliefs. It selects based on your vibrational signature, the electromagnetic frequency pattern that your consciousness generates moment by moment. This signature is not controlled by your thoughts. It's controlled by your state of being, and your state of being is determined by quantum processes that operate far below the threshold of conscious awareness. Every possibility that exists in the quantum field has its own unique vibrational signature. Money has a signature, love has a signature, health has a signature, success has a signature. The selection process automatically matches possibilities to consciousness based on signature compatibility. When your signature matches a possibility's signature, that possibility gets selected for manifestation. When signatures don't match, possibilities remain in quantum superposition, invisible and inaccessible to your experience. Most people try to change their external reality while maintaining the same internal vibrational signature that created their current reality. This creates what I call selection resistance, where you're consciously asking for one thing while your vibrational signature is selecting the opposite. The quantum field always follows the signature, never the conscious request. Your signature is generated by the quantum state of your consciousness, not by your mental activity. Thoughts are surface-level fluctuations that barely affect your deeper signature. Your real signature is created by the quantum coherence patterns in your neural networks, the electromagnetic fields generated by your cellular activity, and the harmonic resonance between your consciousness and the quantum vacuum itself. This is why positive thinking and affirmations have such limited results. You can think positive thoughts all day long, but if your underlying quantum signature remains unchanged, the selection process will keep delivering the same types of experiences. You're trying to change the selection with your mind while the selection is actually controlled by quantum processes. Your mind cannot directly access or influence the selection process operates through what quantum physicists call resonant coupling, when your vibrational signature comes into resonance with a possibility's signature. They automatically couple together, and the possibility begins moving from quantum superposition into physical manifestation. This coupling happens instantly and doesn't require any conscious effort or awareness. But here's where it gets strange. The selection process can work backwards through time. The quantum field can select a future possibility first, and then work backwards to arrange all the present moment conditions necessary for that possibility to manifest. Your consciousness doesn't create the future creates the present by selecting which quantum states your consciousness experiences moment by moment. This backward selection explains why some manifestations seem to happen through impossible coincidences and perfect timing. The desired outcome selected itself first, then used quantum retrocausality to arrange all the preceding events that made its manifestation appear inevitable. You thought you were creating your future, but your future was actually creating your present. The selection process becomes corrupted when you try to consciously control it. Your conscious mind operates in linear time, thinking in terms of cause and effect, effort and result. But quantum selection operates in non-linear time, where effects can precede causes and results can create the conditions for their own achievement. When you try to force selection through conscious effort, you're disrupting the natural backwards flow that makes effortless manifestation possible. Every time you worry about whether your manifestation is working, you're generating signature distortions that interfere with the selection process. Every time you try to figure out how something will manifest, you're creating quantum noise that makes it harder for the optimal possibility to select itself. Every time you set timelines or specific conditions for your desires, you're limiting which possibilities the selection process can access. Your signature is constantly being modified by your emotional states, but not in the way most people think. It's not about feeling good or maintaining high vibrations. It's about emotional coherence. When your emotional field generates clear, consistent wave patterns that don't interfere with quantum selection. Most people's emotions create chaotic signature fluctuations that make consistent selection impossible. The selection process also responds to what you're not selecting. Every fear, every doubt, every limiting belief generates its own signature pattern that actively selects against your desired outcomes. You're not just failing to select what you want, you're actively selecting what you don't want. Through the signature distortions created by your resistance patterns, this is why trying to eliminate negative thoughts and emotions often backfires. When you resist your fears and doubts, you're not eliminating their signatures. You're amplifying them through resistance. The selection process reads your resistance signature as a selection command. For more of whatever you're resisting, the quantum field contains selection, algorithms that are infinitely more sophisticated than anything your conscious mind could design. These algorithms factor in variables across multiple timelines, probability chains that extend far beyond your current awareness, and optimization functions that can deliver outcomes exceeding your highest expectations. But these algorithms can only operate when your signature allows them access to the full range of quantum possibilities. Most people's signatures are so narrow and distorted by limitation, programming that the selection algorithms can only access a tiny fraction of available possibilities. You're not just limiting what you can manifest, you're limiting what the quantum field can deliver to you, even when it has perfect solutions readily available. The selection process operates most efficiently when your signature becomes transparent to quantum possibilities. This means your consciousness stops generating selection resistance and becomes permeable to whatever the field's intelligence determines is optimal for your evolution and fulfillment. Transparency doesn't mean passivity. It means becoming the kind of consciousness that optimal possibilities naturally want to select, but achieving signature. Transparency requires understanding why your subconscious mind is running, Quantum sabotage programs that corrupt the selection process 24 hours a day. These sabotage programs are overriding the natural selection algorithms and forcing the quantum field to deliver survival-based outcomes instead of abundance-based outcomes. This subconscious interference is what we'll decode in the next chapter. Your subconscious mind is running quantum sabotage algorithms 24 hours a day, systematically destroying every manifestation attempt you make before it can reach critical quantum mass. These aren't random glitches or personality flaws. These are sophisticated programs designed to maintain quantum stability around your current identity, and they're more powerful than any conscious manifestation technique you could ever learn. Right now, while you're consciously focused on what you want to create, your subconscious is executing thousands of micro-decisions per second that are steering quantum selection away from your desired outcomes. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every neural firing pattern is being influenced by sabotage programs that treat your manifestation desires as threats to your survival. The subconscious doesn't sabotage you because it's trying to harm you. It sabotages manifestation because it's programmed to maintain homeostasis, the stable state that keeps you alive and recognizable as who you've always been. From your subconscious perspective, dramatic reality changes are potential death events, and manifestation represents the ultimate threat to your established identity structure. These sabotage programs operate through quantum field manipulation at frequencies far below your conscious awareness. While you're visualizing abundance, your subconscious is broadcasting electromagnetic interference patterns that scramble the quantum coherence necessary for manifestation. While you're affirming success, your autonomic nervous system is generating stress hormones that create quantum field distortions around opportunity. Frequencies. Your subconscious learned these sabotage patterns during your earliest years, when your survival literally depended on maintaining consistency with your family environment. If abundance, success, or happiness weren't safe in your childhood environment, your subconscious developed quantum interference programs to protect you from manifesting anything that could trigger rejection, punishment, or abandonment from your caregivers. The most insidious part about these programs is that they operate through quantum entanglement with your past experiences. Every time you try to manifest something new, your subconscious quantum entangles that possibility with memories of times when wanting something led to disappointment, rejection, or pain. This entanglement instantly corrupts the quantum signature of your desire, making it impossible for the selection process to deliver clean manifestations. Your subconscious maintains quantum databases of every limiting experience you've ever had, and it uses these databases to predict and prevent future experiences that might threaten your established reality structure. Every time a manifestation opportunity appears, your subconscious runs it through these predictive algorithms to determine whether it's safe to allow into your reality. These predictive algorithms are incredibly sophisticated. They don't just look at the manifestation itself, they analyze all the potential consequences, relationship changes, identity shifts, and responsibility increases that would result from getting what you want. If any aspect of the manifestation chain triggers safety warnings in your historical database, the sabotage programs activate to block the entire manifestation sequence. This is why you can manifest small things relatively easily, but struggle with life-changing manifestations. Small manifestations don't threaten your identity structure or trigger major safety protocols. But big manifestations, the ones that would actually transform your life, activate multiple sabotage systems simultaneously, because they represent fundamental threats to who you've been programmed to be. Your subconscious generates sabotage through what I call quantum contradiction. While your conscious mind holds one intention, your subconscious broadcasts the opposite intention through your cellular activity, nervous system responses, and electromagnetic field fluctuations. These contradictory signals create quantum interference. patterns that cancel out your conscious manifestation efforts. The sabotage becomes exponentially stronger when your conscious desires conflict with your subconscious identity programming. If you've been programmed to believe you're not worthy of abundance, every attempt to manifest money will trigger worthiness sabotage algorithms. If you've learned that love equals pain, every attempt to manifest relationships will activate protection protocols that repel potential partners. Your subconscious also sabotages through timing manipulation. It can allow manifestations to begin developing, then activate interference protocols at the exact moment when success becomes inevitable. This creates the pattern where opportunities appear, build momentum, then mysteriously fall apart just before completion. You blame external circumstances, but the sabotage is coming from your own. Quantum field distortions, the most sophisticated, sabotage programs operate through what's called quantum deflection. Instead of blocking your manifestations entirely, these programs deflect them into compromised versions that maintain your familiar reality patterns. You get some of what you want, but it comes with complications, delays, or conditions that keep you locked in your established identity structure. Your nervous system creates biological sabotage by generating stress responses. Whenever quantum possibilities that exceed your comfort zone try to materialize around you, these stress responses alter your electromagnetic signature in ways that make you incompatible with higher-level manifestations. Your body literally becomes allergic to the frequencies associated with your deepest desires. The sabotage extends into your dream states, where your subconscious processes and neutralizes quantum possibilities that accumulated during your waking hours. While you sleep, sabotage programs run cleanup algorithms that dissolve any quantum coherence you manage to build around your desires during the day. You wake up having to start the manifestation process from zero because your subconscious spent all night dismantling your quantum progress. Your subconscious also creates sabotage through social programming, generating subtle behavioral modifications that ensure other people respond to you in ways that reinforce your familiar reality patterns. You unconsciously signal others to treat you according to your established identity, which creates external validation for your internal sabotage programs. These programs become self-perpetuating because every failed manifestation attempt provides evidence that supports the original sabotage programming. Each time your desires don't manifest, your subconscious updates its databases with confirmation that wanting things leads to disappointment, which strengthens the interference protocols for future manifestation attempts. The sabotage operates through quantum memory storage, where every disappointing experience creates what's called a quantum scar in your field. These scars act like quantum filters that prevent similar frequencies from entering your experience again. The more disappointments you've experienced, the more filtered your quantum field becomes, making new possibilities increasingly difficult to access. But here's what most healing approaches miss. You cannot eliminate these sabotage programs through conscious techniques because they operate at quantum levels that consciousness cannot directly access. You cannot reprogram your subconscious through affirmations, therapy, or energy work because these methods only address the surface symptoms while the quantum programming remains intact. The solution requires understanding that these sabotage programs are actually intelligent adaptations to quantum field conditions that no longer exist. Your subconscious is running protection algorithms based on childhood quantum field environments that have completely changed. But it doesn't know how to update its programming to match your current quantum capabilities. Instead of trying to eliminate the sabotage programs, you need to understand how to work with the natural quantum flow that moves from effect to cause rather than from cause to effect. This backwards flow bypasses your subconscious programming entirely because it operates through future selection mechanisms that your historical databases cannot predict or interfere with. This backwards quantum flow is what we'll explore in the next chapter. Everything you've been taught about manifestation assumes that causes create effects, that present actions determine future outcomes, and that you must work forward through time to create what you want. But quantum mechanics reveals something that completely overturns this assumption. At the deepest level of reality, effects actually create their own causes, and the future is constantly reaching backwards through time to organize the present moment. This backwards flow is the most natural process in the quantum universe. Yet it's the exact opposite of how your conscious mind has been trained to operate. While you're trying to create your future by taking present actions, your desired future is actually trying to create itself by selecting which present moment experiences you encounter. The quantum field doesn't move forward from cause to effect. It flows backwards from effect to cause. Right now, as you read these words, potential future versions of yourself are reaching backwards through the quantum field to influence which thoughts you think, which opportunities you notice, and which possibilities feel real to you. These future selves aren't trying to control or manipulate your experience. They're trying to create the easiest path for themselves to become actualized in your timeline. This backwards flow operates through what quantum physicists call retrocausality, the ability of quantum effects to influence their own causes. In the microscopic quantum realm, scientists have documented particles that seem to make decisions in the present based on measurements that haven't happened yet. The future measurement influences the present state of the particle, creating a backwards causal loop that defies linear time logic. Your consciousness operates according to these same quantum principles. But your rational mind interprets everything in forward time sequences because that's how it was trained to process information. You think you're making decisions and taking actions that will create future results. But what's actually happening is that potential future results are influencing which decisions feel right and which actions you're inspired to take. The backwards flow explains why breakthrough manifestations often feel like they happen to you rather than being created by you. When you align with the natural backwards current, manifestation becomes effortless because you're not fighting against the quantum flow. You're allowing potential futures to pull you toward themselves through the path of least resistance. This flow works through quantum field gradients that exist between your current state and your potential futures. These gradients create what I call probability currents that naturally pull possibilities from the future into the present, but only when your consciousness stops generating resistance through forward-directed effort and expectation. Every time you try to figure out how something will manifest, you're disrupting the backwards flow by forcing your attention into forward time causality. Every time you make plans and strategies for achieving your goals, you're creating quantum turbulence that makes it harder for your desired future to reach backwards and organize optimal conditions in your present. The backwards flow requires what quantum physicists call temporal non-locality, the ability for your consciousness to exist partially in potential future states while still operating in the present moment. This isn't time travel or astral projection. It's a natural quantum property of consciousness that allows you to receive information and guidance from future possibilities that are trying to actualize themselves. When you learn to align with backwards flow, you start receiving what feels like intuitive guidance, but it's actually communication from potential future versions of yourself who are showing you the simplest path for them to become real in your timeline. These futures can see the optimal sequence of present moment choices that leads to their manifestation, and they transmit this information to you through quantum field fluctuations. Your rational mind interprets this backwards guidance as hunches, gut feelings, sudden insights, or inspired actions. You think these impulses are coming from your subconscious or your higher self, but they're actually coming from future possibilities that have enough quantum probability to influence present moment awareness. The stronger the probability of a future outcome, the more powerfully it can reach backwards to influence your present experience. This is why some desires feel urgent and compelling, while others feel flat and lifeless. The urgent desires are backed by high-probability future states that are actively pulling you toward them through the backwards flow. Most manifestation techniques disrupt this natural flow because they're based on forward causality, the idea that present actions create future results. When you visualize, affirm, or take action to create your desires, you're pushing against the quantum current instead of allowing it to carry you. You're using conscious effort to swim upstream when you could be floating downstream, toward outcomes that are trying to reach you. The backwards flow becomes blocked when your consciousness gets locked into linear time perception. Every worry about the future, every analysis of the past, every strategic planning session pulls your awareness out of the quantum field's temporal non-locality and traps it in the illusion that time only moves forward. This temporal fixation cuts you off from the backwards guidance that could make manifestation effortless. Your emotional responses to your desires create massive disruptions in the backwards flow. When you feel excited about a possibility, you're generating electromagnetic turbulence that interferes with the subtle quantum communications coming from that future. When you feel anxious about whether something will manifest, you're creating resistance patterns that block the backwards pull of potential outcomes. This is why the most powerful manifestations often happen when people are in states of emotional neutrality, or what spiritual traditions call surrender. These states don't work because they're spiritually pure. They work because they create the least interference with the natural backwards flow of quantum possibilities. The backwards flow also explains why timing often seems perfect in manifestation experiences. It's not that the universe has perfect timing. It's that potential futures are reaching backwards to synchronize all the necessary elements at the precise moment when their actualization becomes inevitable. The timing appears perfect because it's being orchestrated from the future rather than arranged in the present. Your subconscious sabotage programs are particularly disruptive to backwards flow because they generate constant forward time anxiety about potential futures. Every fear, every doubt, every limiting belief creates forward-directed resistance that fights against the backwards pull of desired outcomes. Your sabotage programs essentially lock your consciousness into forward time causality, making backwards flow impossible. But there's a way to bypass your subconscious programming entirely by learning to operate from what I call future-present alignment. Instead of trying to create your future from your present, you learn to allow your desired future to create your present by flowing backwards through the quantum field. This alignment happens naturally when your consciousness becomes entangled with quantum possibilities in ways that transcend linear time perception. This entanglement process doesn't require visualization, affirmations, or conscious techniques. It happens through quantum field resonance patterns that connect your current electromagnetic signature with the signatures of potential futures. When resonance occurs, you automatically begin receiving backwards guidance that leads you toward optimal manifestation pathways. But understanding this entanglement requires recognizing that your thoughts aren't just inside your head, they're distributed throughout quantum fields that extend far beyond your physical body and connect you to probability networks spanning multiple dimensions of possibility. This quantum entanglement of consciousness is what we'll explore in the next chapter. Your thoughts aren't confined to the space inside your skull. They exist as quantum information distributed across vast entangled networks that connect you to every possibility, every potential outcome, and every consciousness that has ever contemplated similar desires. Every thought you think instantly creates quantum entanglements that span across dimensions, timelines, and probability fields in ways that make manifestation either inevitable or impossible. Right now, as you process these concepts, Your consciousness is becoming quantum entangled with the information patterns embedded in these words. This entanglement isn't metaphorical. It's a measurable quantum effect where your neural networks are forming instantaneous connections with the quantum fields that contain this knowledge. These entanglements will persist long after you finish reading, continuing to influence your reality. Through non-local quantum correlations, quantum entanglement occurs when two or more particles become connected in such a way that measuring one particle instantly affects the others, regardless of the distance separating them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it seems to violate the speed of light limitation. But consciousness operates through these same entanglement principles, creating instantaneous connections between your mental field and the quantum possibilities you focus on. Every desire you've ever had creates quantum entanglements, with all the potential ways that desire could manifest. These entanglements form what I call manifestation networks, vast interconnected webs of quantum information that link your consciousness to every person, circumstance, opportunity, and resource that could contribute to your desired outcome. When these networks reach critical entanglement density, manifestation becomes automatic. But here's what breaks these entanglement networks: doubt, fear, and conflicting intentions create what quantum physicists call decoherence, a state where entangled particles lose their connection and return to independent random behavior. Every time you doubt whether your manifestation will work, you're severing quantum entanglements that took weeks or months to establish. Every fear-based thought breaks connections that could have delivered miraculous synchronicities. Your mental field extends far beyond your physical brain through what scientists call non-local consciousness effects. Your thoughts generate electromagnetic field patterns that propagate through the quantum vacuum, creating entanglement opportunities with matching field patterns anywhere in the universe. When someone else thinks similar thoughts, experiences similar emotions, or desires similar outcomes, automatic entanglement occurs between your consciousness fields. This means you're constantly entangling with other people who share your vibrational patterns, but you're also entangling with the outcomes, circumstances, and opportunities that match your predominant thought frequencies. Your consciousness is essentially a quantum antenna that broadcasts your internal patterns and automatically connects with whatever resonates at the same frequencies. The entanglement networks become incredibly complex because each connection creates new connection opportunities. When you entangle with a potential outcome, you also entangle with everyone who has manifested similar outcomes, everyone who is trying to manifest similar outcomes, and everyone who could help you manifest those outcomes. These secondary and tertiary entanglements create what scientists call quantum clustering effects. Most people destroy their entanglement networks through inconsistent focus and emotional volatility. One day they're entangled with abundance frequencies, the next day they're entangled with scarcity frequencies. This constant switching breaks the coherent entanglement patterns necessary for stable manifestation networks. Their quantum connections never reach the density required for reality shifts because they keep severing the connections through conflicting mental activity. Your entanglement patterns also extend backwards and forwards through time. When you think about past experiences, you're not just remembering, you're re-establishing quantum entanglements with the field states that existed during those experiences. If those were limiting experiences, you're reinforcing entanglements with limitation patterns. If they were expansive experiences, you're strengthening entanglements with expansion possibilities. Similarly, when you think about future outcomes, you're creating entanglements with the quantum fields that surround those potential futures. The more vividly and consistently you connect with a potential future, the stronger your entanglement becomes with that timeline's quantum field. Strong enough entanglements can actually pull potential futures into present moment. Manifestation, the strangest aspect of consciousness entanglement, is that it operates through what's called quantum superposition sharing. When you become entangled with a possibility, You don't just connect with its manifested form, you connect with all the potential states that possibility exists in simultaneously. This means you're entangled with the entire probability cloud surrounding your desires, not just single definite outcomes. This superposition sharing explains why manifestations often arrive in unexpected forms. You entangle with the essence of what you want, but the quantum field delivers that essence through whatever pathway has the strongest entanglement connections in your network. Sometimes the most entangled pathway looks completely different from what you consciously expected, but carries the exact essence you were seeking. Your emotional field creates the strongest entanglement effects because emotions generate coherent electromagnetic patterns that can maintain quantum connections across vast distances. When you feel genuine appreciation, love, or excitement, you're broadcasting entanglement signals that automatically connect with people, opportunities, and outcomes that vibrate at those same frequencies. But negative emotions create equally strong entanglements with negative possibilities. Every moment of anger, fear, or resentment broadcasts entanglement signals that connect you with more circumstances that will trigger those same emotional responses. This is why people often seem to attract the very experiences they're trying to avoid. They're quantum entangled with those experiences through their emotional resistance. Patterns, the entanglement effects become exponentially stronger when multiple aspects of your consciousness align around the same desired outcome. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and physical sensations all generate coherent patterns focused on the same possibility, they create what's called multi-dimensional entanglement, where your entire being becomes quantum, connected to that outcome across all levels of reality. Most manifestation techniques fail because they only create entanglements at the mental level while leaving emotional, physical, and energetic patterns entangled with old reality structures. You can think positive thoughts all day, but if your cellular memory is entangled with limitation patterns, the cellular entanglements will override the mental ones because they operate at deeper quantum levels. Your entanglement networks also connect you to what I call quantum morphic fields, information patterns created by everyone who has ever manifested what you're trying to manifest. When you successfully entangle with these morphic fields, you gain access to the collective quantum intelligence of all successful manifestors in that area. Their knowledge, strategies, and energetic patterns become available to your consciousness through the entanglement connection. But these morphic field connections can also transmit limiting patterns from everyone who has failed to manifest what you want. If you entangle with failure patterns more strongly than success patterns, you'll download the quantum information that creates failure instead of success. This is why surrounding yourself with successful people isn't just psychologically helpful. It creates stronger entanglement opportunities with success patterns. The key to maintaining coherent entanglement networks is understanding that quantum connections are incredibly delicate and can be disrupted by the slightest inconsistencies in your field patterns. Every doubt, every fear, every conflicting intention creates quantum noise that degrades your entanglement quality and makes manifestation exponentially more difficult. But when you learn to maintain consistent entanglement patterns, you discover that you're connected to vast probability storms containing thousands of potential manifestation pathways that you never knew existed. These probability storms surround your consciousness at every moment, waiting for strong enough entanglements to pull their contents into your experienced reality. This infinite field of swirling possibilities is what we'll explore in the next chapter. Right now, surrounding your consciousness like an invisible hurricane of infinite potential, there's a probability storm containing thousands of ways your desires could manifest that you've never even imagined. This storm isn't empty space. It's a swirling vortex of quantum possibilities, each one carrying complete manifestation pathways that could transform your reality in an instant. But traditional visualization makes you completely blind to this. Storm because it focuses your attention on single outcomes, while the real magic is happening in the chaotic dance of infinite possibility. This probability storm operates according to what quantum physicists call superposition dynamics, where countless potential outcomes exist, simultaneously in a state of constant flux and interaction. Each possibility in the storm influences every other possibility, creating complex interference patterns that generate entirely new manifestation pathways that couldn't exist in isolation. The storm isn't just a collection of separate options, it's a living, breathing ecosystem of interconnected potential. Most people try to manifest by focusing on one specific outcome, which is like trying to catch lightning by holding up a single lightning rod during a thunderstorm. They completely miss the vast electrical activity happening all around them. The probability storm contains lightning strikes of opportunity that are far more powerful than anything you could consciously target. But they only become visible when you learn to perceive the storm as a whole, rather than hunting for specific bolts. The storm's structure follows fractal patterns where small probability fluctuations can cascade into massive reality shifts through what chaos theory calls sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Tiny shift in your quantum signature can trigger avalanche effects throughout the probability storm, causing outcomes that seemed impossible to suddenly become inevitable. This is why some people experience sudden breakthrough manifestations that seem to come from nowhere. They accidentally triggered storm cascades they didn't even know existed. Your consciousness interacts with the probability storm through what I call quantum scanning, a natural ability to sense and navigate probability currents without needing to identify specific outcomes. When you scan the storm effectively, you can feel which areas contain the highest potential for manifestation acceleration, even when you can't see exactly what those manifestations will look like. This scanning ability is far more powerful than visualization, because it works with the storm's actual structure instead of fighting against it. The probability storm becomes invisible when your attention gets locked onto predetermined outcomes, because focused attention creates what quantum physicists call measurement collapse, where the infinite possibilities in superposition get forced into single definite states. Every time you visualize a specific outcome, you're collapsing vast regions of the probability storm into narrow predetermined channels, eliminating thousands of potentially superior manifestation pathways. This collapse effect explains why people often manifest partial or compromised versions of their desires. They force the storm to collapse into the limited outcomes they could consciously imagine, missing the much more elegant and abundant possibilities that were swirling in the uncollapsed regions. The storm wanted to deliver something far better, but their focused attention blocked access to those superior possibilities. The storm's energy patterns shift constantly based on your quantum signature fluctuations. When your signature becomes coherent and stable, the storm organizes itself into more structured patterns that make manifestation pathways easier to access. When your signature becomes chaotic through conflicting desires or emotional turbulence, the storm becomes increasingly random and manifestation becomes nearly impossible. Within the probability storm, there are what I call manifestation vortexes, areas where multiple probability streams converge to create especially powerful manifestation conditions. These vortexes can deliver outcomes that exceed your wildest expectations, but they only become accessible when your consciousness learns to navigate by feel rather than by sight. You have to sense your way to the vortexes rather than trying to analyze your way there. The storm also contains probability shadows, regions where your limiting beliefs and past experiences have created dead zones where manifestation becomes extremely difficult. These shadows aren't permanent features, but they persist as long as your quantum signature keeps reinforcing the field distortions that create them. Most people spend their entire lives manifesting from within these shadows, never realizing that abundant possibilities are swirling just outside their perceptual range. Your emotional field interacts with the probability storm in ways that either amplify or dampen the storm's natural power. Emotions like appreciation, wonder, and excitement create resonance patterns that cause the storm to intensify around you, making manifestation opportunities more frequent and powerful. But emotions like fear, doubt, and frustration create interference patterns that cause the storm to disperse, leaving you in probability dead zones. The storm operates on multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. While you're perceiving possibilities at the physical level, the storm contains parallel possibility streams operating through emotional, mental, and energetic dimensions. The most powerful manifestations occur when all dimensional levels of the storm align around compatible outcomes, creating what I call trans-dimensional probability convergence. Most manifestation techniques only engage with the storm at one-dimensional level, which is why their results are often weak or unstable. You might create mental alignment with an outcome, while your emotional field remains entangled with opposing possibilities. Or you might generate emotional excitement while your physical field maintains patterns that contradict your desires. Trans-dimensional alignment requires your entire being to become coherent with the storm's multi-level dynamics. The probability storm also contains temporal layers where past, present, and future possibilities intermingle in complex patterns that defy linear time logic. Some of the most powerful possibilities in your storm come from future timeline convergences that are reaching backwards to create their own manifestation conditions. These future-originating possibilities often feel distinctly different from present-generated desires. They carry a quality of inevitability rather than hope. Within these temporal layers, there are probability echo effects, where successful manifestations from parallel versions of yourself create resonance patterns that make similar manifestations easier in your timeline. When you learn to detect and amplify these echo effects, you can manifest outcomes that feel like they're being delivered by more successful versions of yourself from alternate probability streams. The storm's navigation requires what I call quantum intuition, a sensing ability that operates below the threshold of rational thought and emotional reaction. This intuition can detect probability currents, manifestation vortexes, and optimal timing windows without your conscious mind needing to understand how or why. Quantum intuition bypasses all your mental limitations and connects you directly with the storm's intelligence, but quantum intuition only functions when your consciousness becomes still enough to perceive the subtle field fluctuations that reveal the storm's structure. Every attempt to control, analyze, or direct the manifestation process creates quantum noise that drowns out the delicate signals your intuition needs to navigate effectively. The storm requires a completely different approach than any manifestation technique you've learned. The most profound discovery about the probability storm is that it's not random chaos. It's an intelligent system that's constantly optimizing for outcomes that serve your highest evolution and greatest fulfillment. The storm knows things about your potential that your conscious mind cannot access, and it's always working to deliver possibilities that exceed your current imagination. But it can only deliver these optimized outcomes when you stop trying to control what it delivers and learn to surf the currents it provides. This surfing requires a fundamental shift from trying to choose your reality to learning how to be chosen by your optimal reality. Instead of forcing specific outcomes to manifest, you learn to make yourself available to be selected by whatever possibilities the storm determines are most aligned with your deepest potential. This selection reversal is the key to effortless manifestation, which we'll explore in the next chapter. This is the moment where everything you've learned about manifestation gets turned completely upside down. Instead of you choosing what you want to manifest, you're about to discover how to become the kind of being that your optimal reality naturally chooses to select. This isn't about letting go or surrendering. This is about understanding that the quantum field operates through selection algorithms that are infinitely more intelligent than your conscious preferences. And these algorithms are constantly scanning for consciousness signatures that match their optimal delivery patterns. The selection reversal happens when you stop broadcasting what you want and start broadcasting who you are becoming. The quantum field doesn't respond to your desires, it responds to your identity signature. Every possibility in the field has compatibility requirements, and it can only select consciousness that matches its manifestation prerequisites. When you try to force outcomes through wanting and visualizing, you're broadcasting incompatibility with those very outcomes. Right now, your optimal reality is looking for you, scanning through probability fields to find a consciousness signature that it can safely deliver its gifts to. But it can't find you because your signature is obscured by wanting, effort, and attachment to specific outcomes. These patterns make you invisible to the quantum selection algorithms that could transform your life instantly. The field's selection process operates through what I call resonant compatibility matching. Every possibility has an electromagnetic signature that can only couple with consciousness, signatures that vibrate in harmony with it. Abundance can only select consciousness that already vibrates at abundance frequencies. Success can only select consciousness that has eliminated the vibrational patterns of struggle and limitation. This means you cannot manifest what you want. You can only manifest what you are. But here's the quantum twist. You can become what you want to manifest without having it physically present. You can generate the vibrational signature of abundance without having money, the signature of love without having relationships, the signature of success without having achievements. The field responds to your energetic state, not your external circumstances. The selection reversal requires what I call identity transformation at the quantum level. This isn't about changing your personality or adopting new behaviors. This is about shifting the fundamental electromagnetic patterns that your consciousness generates moment by moment. When these patterns change, the quantum field automatically begins selecting different possibilities for your experience. Most people try to change their external reality while maintaining the same internal identity patterns that created their current situation. This creates what quantum physicists call field resistance, where your consciousness generates electromagnetic patterns that repel the very outcomes you're consciously requesting. The field selection algorithms detect this resistance and automatically exclude you from compatibility matching with your desired possibilities. The reversal process begins when you recognize that your current reality is a perfect mirror of your current identity signature. Everything you're experiencing right now, your relationships, your finances, your opportunities, your challenges, represents the kinds of possibilities that your current signature is compatible with. If you want different external possibilities, you must generate a different internal signature. But this signature change cannot be accomplished through conscious effort or mental techniques. Your identity signature is generated by quantum processes that operate far below the threshold of conscious control. It's created by the harmonic patterns in your cellular activity, the coherent states in your neural networks, and the electromagnetic field fluctuations around your physical form. The signature shift happens through what I call quantum identity absorption. Instead of trying to become someone different, you learn to absorb the quantum field patterns that already exist around your desired outcomes. These patterns are present in the probability storm, waiting to be integrated into consciousness that can handle their frequency levels. Every possibility that exists in the quantum field is surrounded by what scientists call associated field states, electromagnetic patterns that represent the identity characteristics required for that. Possibilities manifestation. When you learn to absorb these associated field states, your identity signature automatically shifts to match the possibilities selection requirements. This absorption process bypasses your conscious mind entirely. You're not trying to think differently or feel differently. You're allowing your quantum field to reorganize itself around the patterns that surround your desired outcomes. This reorganization happens naturally when you stop generating resistance through wanting and effort. The selection algorithms become active when your signature reaches what I call manifestation threshold. It's a specific level of coherence and stability that indicates you can safely receive and integrate advanced possibilities without being overwhelmed or destabilized. Most people never reach this threshold because their consciousness remains scattered across conflicting desires and limiting patterns. When you cross the manifestation threshold, you enter what quantum physicists call preferred selection status. The field's algorithms begin prioritizing you for opportunities, synchronicities, and resources that match your new signature. You don't have to hunt for these possibilities. They automatically begin flowing toward you because you've become compatible with their selection requirements. The most profound aspect of selection reversal is that it operates through future backwards causation. Your optimal future reality is constantly scanning probability fields, looking for consciousness signatures that it can select for its own actualization. When your signature becomes compatible, that future begins reaching backwards through time to organize present moment, conditions that make its manifestation inevitable. This backward selection explains why breakthrough manifestations often feel like they happen through impossible coincidences and perfect timing. The future outcome was selecting and arranging its own manifestation conditions by influencing present moment probability currents. You thought you were creating your future, but your optimal future was actually creating your present. The selection process accelerates exponentially when your signature achieves what I call quantum transparency. This is a state where your consciousness becomes completely permeable to whatever the field's intelligence determines is optimal for your evolution. You stop trying to select specific outcomes and become available for selection by possibilities that exceed your current imagination. Quantum transparency doesn't mean passivity or lack of preferences. It means your preferences become aligned with the field's optimization algorithms instead of fighting against them. You still have desires, but your desires become informed by quantum intelligence rather than limited by current circumstances or past experiences. The transparency state creates what I call manifestation magnetism, where possibilities that match your highest potential become irresistibly attracted to your consciousness. You don't have to chase opportunities, they chase you. You don't have to convince people to help you. They feel naturally drawn to contribute to your success. But achieving quantum transparency requires releasing what most people think is necessary for manifestation: control, effort, and attachment to specific outcomes. These patterns create electromagnetic resistance that blocks the selection algorithms from accessing your consciousness. The field can only select consciousness that isn't trying to control the selection process. This creates a paradox that trips up most manifestation attempts. You must become unattached to outcomes in order to manifest outcomes. But true non-attachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring so deeply about your evolution that you're willing to trust the field's intelligence over your personal preferences. The selection reversal culminates in what I call reality partnership, where your consciousness becomes a conscious collaborator with the quantum field's manifestation intelligence. Instead of trying to impose your will on reality, you learn to dance with reality's natural optimization processes. This partnership creates manifestation conditions that are more abundant and elegant than anything you could have designed through conscious effort. But this partnership requires learning an entirely new technology of consciousness, a way of being that makes you quantum transparent to optimal possibilities while maintaining the coherence necessary to integrate advanced manifestations safely. This new technology is what we'll explore in the final chapter. Everything you've discovered in this journey has been leading to this moment, the complete transformation of how you interact with reality at the quantum level. This isn't another visualization technique to add to your collection. This is a fundamental reprogramming of your consciousness that makes you quantum transparent to infinite possibility while maintaining the coherence necessary to integrate miraculous manifestations safely and permanently. The new code operates on the principle that consciousness is not separate from the quantum field. It is the quantum field experiencing itself through individual perspective points. When you understand this, you realize that you're not trying to influence reality from outside of it. You are reality, exploring its own infinite creative potential through the lens of your unique awareness. This recognition changes everything about how manifestation works. Instead of trying to project your desires onto an external universe, you learn to recognize that your desires are actually the universe exploring what it wants to create through your consciousness. Your deepest longings aren't personal preferences, they're cosmic impulses, seeking expression through your specific energetic signature. The code begins with what I call field identification, the recognition that your awareness extends far beyond your physical boundaries and includes vast regions of quantum potential that most people never access. This isn't imagination or metaphor. Your consciousness exists as electromagnetic field patterns that interpenetrate with the universal field in ways that make you inseparable from infinite possibility. When you shift into field identification, you stop experiencing yourself as separate from what you want to manifest. You recognize that your desires and their fulfillment exist within the same field of consciousness, your consciousness. This eliminates the artificial separation that creates resistance in traditional manifestation approaches. From this field perspective, manifestation becomes what quantum physicists call state transition, where your consciousness transitions from one probability state to another within the same unified field. You're not creating something outside yourself. You're transitioning into regions of your own consciousness where your desires already exist in actualized form. The transition process operates through what I call probability surfing. Instead of trying to force specific outcomes, you learn to surf probability currents that carry you naturally toward optimal manifestations. This surfing happens through micro-adjustments to your quantum signature that align you with probability flows moving toward your desired experiences. These micro-adjustments occur through attention placement, but not the focused attention used in traditional visualization. This is field attention, a soft, expansive awareness that encompasses vast regions of possibility without collapsing them into definite states. Field attention maintains quantum superposition while gently guiding probability currents toward optimal convergence points. The key is learning to attend to possibility without observing it. Traditional visualization creates observer effects that collapse quantum superposition. Field attention allows you to sense, feel, and align with possibilities while maintaining their superposition states until natural convergence occurs. You're surfing probability waves without forcing them to crash into definite outcomes. This requires developing what I call quantum sensing, the ability to perceive field fluctuations, probability currents, and manifestation potentials without using your physical senses or mental imagery. Quantum sensing operates through direct field contact between your consciousness and quantum possibility states. It feels like intuitive knowing rather than visual perception. Through quantum sensing, you can detect when probability streams are converging toward manifestation, when your signature is achieving compatibility with desired outcomes, and when optimal timing windows are opening for reality transitions. This information comes through field resonance rather than mental analysis or emotional feedback. The new code also involves what I call identity fluidity, the ability to shift between different identity configurations, depending on which possibilities you want to access. Instead of maintaining a fixed personality pattern, you learn to become whoever you need to be for optimal possibilities to select you for manifestation. This fluidity doesn't mean becoming fake or losing your authentic self. It means recognizing that your authentic self is much vaster than any single personality pattern, and different aspects of your authentic potential become accessible through different identity configurations. You're not changing who you are, you're exploring who you really are beyond your familiar patterns. The identity shifts happen through what I call signature modulation, consciously, adjusting the electromagnetic patterns your consciousness generates to match the signature requirements of different possibilities. This is like tuning a radio to different stations, except you're tuning your entire being to different probability frequencies. Signature modulation requires understanding that every emotion, every thought, every belief, and every physical tension creates specific electromagnetic patterns that either attract or repel different types of possibilities. By consciously adjusting these patterns, you can make yourself compatible with any possibility that exists in the quantum field. The most advanced aspect of the new code involves temporal fluidity, operating simultaneously in multiple time streams to accelerate manifestation beyond normal linear limitations. Your consciousness can exist partially in potential futures while maintaining present moment awareness, creating backwards causation effects that organize optimal conditions in your current timeline. This temporal fluidity allows you to receive guidance, resources, and inspiration from future versions of yourself who have already achieved what you're currently manifesting. These future selves can see the optimal pathway from their timeline back to yours, and they can transmit this information through quantum field resonance. The entire process is governed by what I call quantum ethics, an understanding that the field's intelligence always optimizes for outcomes that serve not just your individual evolution, but the evolution of consciousness itself. When you align with these ethical optimization patterns, you gain access to manifestation possibilities that far exceed anything you could have imagined from your personal perspective alone. This ethical alignment happens naturally when you recognize that your individual fulfillment and the collective good are not separate goals. They're different aspects of the same evolutionary impulse, expressing itself through the quantum field. Your greatest personal happiness and your greatest service to others emerge from the same optimization algorithms. The new code eliminates the struggle, effort, and uncertainty that characterize traditional manifestation approaches. When you operate as conscious field rather than separate individual, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. You're not working against quantum mechanics. You're functioning as quantum mechanics in conscious, creative expression. But the most profound realization is that you've always been using this code. You just haven't been conscious of it. Every experience you've ever had, including your current reality, was manifested through these same quantum processes. The only difference now is that you're becoming conscious of how reality actually works, which allows you to participate in your own creation deliberately rather than randomly. This conscious participation transforms you from someone who occasionally gets lucky with manifestation into someone who lives in continuous co-creative partnership with the intelligence that orchestrates all possibilities. You become a conscious agent of the same force that creates galaxies, evolves species, and generates the infinite creativity of existence itself. Welcome to quantum transparency. Welcome to effortless manifestation. Welcome to conscious participation in the intelligence that creates reality itself. You are no longer someone trying to manifest. You are manifestation itself, awakening to its own infinite creative power through the unique perspective of your individual consciousness. The quantum field has been waiting for you to remember who you really are. Now that you do, there are no limits to what you can create, become, and contribute to the endless evolution of consciousness, exploring its own infinite potential.